Let's get straight back to it, because I'm still here with Henry Bolton, who, I just want to ask a really, really simple question to. You said that we needed lots of silver bullets and there was no one simple solution or answer to the immigration problem. What are your top 3 or your top 5 things that you think we should do now?
Right. Number 1 is we need to start. You say that, Andre, but again, this is the problem that the Home Office and the government have had. They've put things like that, priority 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. I tell you what, we need concurrent activity. There are a whole number of activities that all need to happen at the same time.
Okay.
That's first point to make. But let's talk about some of those things. We need to go hunting organised crime groups and networks that are responsible for, recruiting people in, even if they're economic migrants. They're not fleeing anything. But I tell you what, Andre? If you pay me $3,000, I can get you to the UK where you're going to get a job, and think of that $3,000 as an investment. Okay, I'll move you there. You'll get a job, and you'll make $5,000, or you'll be able to send $5,000 back in the first month. Okay, and that's going to build through the year.
And is that principally from drug dealing?
No, well, it does. Even if the job may not exist, Andre.
I
see.
I see.
What we're talking about is somebody, for example, in a village somewhere in Albania, or it could be in Syria, a peaceful part of Syria. I tell you what, you can make money over there, but you need to pay up front so that I can get you there.
Right.
That's recruiting economic migrants into this business, into the movement.
So I just want to pull you up again and just understand this in my mind, because actually, right, the way it's presented to us is that they will pay people smugglers. What you're saying is the business model for people smugglers is to go out and recruit people in the same way as, say, I don't know, a travel agent might proactively sell holidays. They're proactively selling this.
They absolutely are. From the Horn of Africa all the way through North Africa, into the Levant, the sort of eastern end of the western end of the Mediterranean, Syria, Turkey, all the way up through. Yes, they are. That's exactly what's happening. But that's not to say, Andre, that there aren't people who hear about this and think, OK, I'm going over as well. And then they try to find the contacts to get themselves in.
Yes.
And so one of the problems here, and I'm not victimising these people, but one of the knock-on effects is that to get that $3,000, the family might sell all of its assets, gather together, take gold teeth out, flog them, make the money to send one lad over. Now, so there's a whole. Now that's not going to be concerning the British public, but at some level.
But that creates a desperation.
Right, yeah, and more poverty, which drives economic migration. Now, that's complicated, and most people listening aren't going to care about that. They're going to say, how do you stop this? Well, I'm saying that we should go hunting, and I mean hunting these people.
Yes.
Up until 2006, we were actually doing that until Tony Blair pulled the funding. I was involved in tracking down Albanian organised crime groups involved in people smuggling, human trafficking, weapons trafficking, narcotics trafficking towards the UK. We were going in with the local law enforcement, and this is where the Foreign Office needs to come in. So working with embassies and through them, getting into these local law enforcement and intelligence agencies at the national counter-organised crime level, helping them to understand the problem and working with them to actually go in, identify conduct intelligence operations, hunt down these people, kick in the doors, take them out. Literally, sometimes they were killed. Take them in and they would be prosecuted there in the local country. Yep. Then you're starting to disrupt. You're upping the risk factor for the organised crime groups.
Yes.
It has a big effect. Now, don't ask me why Tony Blair pulled the funding for it in 2008, but 2006.
That will solicit, Henry. That will solicit lots of comments on the text and on the Twitter. Why did Tony Blair do it? Anyway, sorry, continue.
Yeah. So that then starts to up the risk. It disrupts their business model. That's how to disrupt a people smuggling network's business model. You're not going to ever deter people from coming because you're up against that sales technique I mentioned earlier.
Yes.
So we've got to go hunting them ruthlessly. So that's stage one. And to do that, we've got to work diplomatically with the nations along the route. We don't just do it at the point of origin. We do it all along the route. OK? Then let's talk when we can come to the UK, the European region, close in the European Union, and their role to play in this. Okay, if we look at Albanians, 42% crossing at the moment are Albanian. 95% of them are men aged between 18 and 35. We've got to have all sorts of concerns about that. But how do we stop that? Because Albanians can travel to the European Union visa-free. Yeah. For them, they just walk into the European Union, okay, and they can get to the North French coast very easily. That's one of the problems. It's one of the reasons the Albanians are able to exploit this route so easily. Now, why are we, the UK, there is no good reason for this in my mind, none. Okay, why are we, the UK, accepting asylum claims from Albanians when Albania is a safe country? Now, we have the freedom of movement, freedom of action as a government to provide secondary legislation to stop that, to change the procedures. Why aren't we doing that? That's a question for the Home Office.
Henry, can I say this to you? I was incredibly shocked. I've told this story before. I appreciate you've not heard it, but some of the viewers and listeners have. I got a train the other day where I bumped into a very nice chap called Salman, and we ended up communicating via Google Translate on the phone. He was somebody who just recently got off one of these migrant dinghies. He's from Albania. He pulled out his papers and he said to me, I am falsely claiming to be a refugee in order to stay in the United Kingdom and work as a builder. Can you help me get fake paperwork? Can you help me get a job in the construction industry? And how can I disappear from the Home Office? I was amazed by this. These people... Okay, I understand that he's lying to authorities, but the lie is so thin. Nobody believes it.
No, but when you can see sort of we're moving towards the UK in the picture I'm painting. We're disrupting upstream. Okay, we're now dealing with people in the European Union. We've got to work with them as we do have to. They're moving through the European Union. It's the same as we've got to work with the Albanians and everybody along the route. Okay, to try and disrupt. The European Union's got a role to play in this as well. And this is where, leaping forward a little bit, I think the French don't want these people any more than we do, and we need to work with the French as to disrupt upstream, get the French on board rather than just simply criticising them. There is criticism that's due, but we need to work in a different way with the French.
Sure.
But anyway, so the way when the people arrive in the UK, if Andre, if we may come back to that. So they come across the channel. There is no law stopping them from leaving France, okay, French law or EU law. So let's say we bring them in. What we have a problem with here, and I simply can't grasp why this is, if at an airport somebody arrives on a flight to Gatwick or Leeds, Bradford or somewhere, they get off the plane, they've got no paperwork or it's not correct. They are legally not deemed to have entered the United Kingdom, although they're on UK soil, until they have transited to immigration controls. Why is it that we don't have that same facility in law and operationally on our maritime borders?
Well, that sounds fantastic.
Right, so we need to do that. And then we need to have a holding facility that is on the other side. At an airport, you've got airside, so before immigration controls, facilities, and we need the same at our maritime ports. We bring them in, okay, we hold them in that facility, if you like, waterside as opposed to airside.
Yes.
We hold them there. Now, that's where the idea of these floating barges, if people Google floating prison or prison barge, New York, they will see there all over the internet this huge facility. We need probably a couple of those docked at Dover, fine, medical facilities, welfare facilities, exercise facilities, accommodation, food, the whole 9 yards. Initial screening there. These people, you're Albanian, are you? Okay, let's look at that. Hang on a minute, you're Albanian. We're not taking asylum claims from Albanians because... You know, and then you sent back. We have a returns agreement. We do have a returns agreement with Albania. So you screen people, health, welfare, and their status for applying for asylum before we accept them into the UK in a legal sense. Okay. At the moment, we just take them straight in.
Yeah,
we're stuck with them. There's a real problem. Then you go into the whole thing of they can apply for appeal and so on 3 times. And that's a lengthy old process, and we all have heard the stories of that. But in that screening process, we need people who know what they're talking about.
Yes.
Now, the Albanians come from 3 countries, essentially. Albania itself, Kosovo, and the Republic of Northern Macedonia.
Yeah, Macedonia.
Okay? You've got to be able to determine between the 3. And actually, the organised crime element of the Albanian community writ large primarily comes from the north of Albania and Kosovo.
Yes.
Okay. And as an aside here, the Albanians, as I say, 42% coming across at the moment. Albanians basically control the cocaine, heroin and weapons trafficking in Europe. And in parts of Europe, including the UK, they pretty much control the vice trade.